I just gotta remember not to say any dirty words and not to do anything uncouth on stream and not to, I don't even know, but yeah, I gotta watch myself. Whatever happened to YouTube? Broadcast yourself. I ain't on here advocating for people to do violent, to do violence. I'm not on here advocating for people to be mean to one another. Okay, well, maybe I kind of am, but not in a violent way. It's okay, though. We back. We back. We ball. F it. We ball. I guess if I want to talk about what happened with Cesar Chavez, I'm going to have to talk about it in, toddler speak. I'll have to talk about grape accusations. Grape accusations. Not beep accusations, because that's a naughty word. Can't be honest about what's going on in the world, because those are naughty words. And you'll get banned. Stupid beep website. I hate this website so much. No, the TikTok speak. Yup. I hope you're ready for grape and talk about a sewer slide. God, man. It is becoming hard to operate as like an edgy YouTube creator, because I feel like YouTube has genuinely become outright hostile to the idea of edginess unless you're on the right. Doesn't seem to matter if you're on the right. For some reason, you can be as edgy as you freaking want to be if you're on the right. But no, let a lefty trans lady say some untoward stuff, and now we got an age-gator video. Pussy shit. What do you dress like on Halloween? Honestly, I haven't done Halloween in forever. But these days, I usually just like dress up as like I don't like dress up as anything, but I kind of like like I've got a pretty well established fall/autumn aesthetic, and I just kind of try to amp that up a little bit. Once you're an adult, it's almost kind of weird to wear a Halloween costume, so it's like just be stylish and be extra stylish on Halloween. I mean, you can wear a costume if you want to. I'm certainly not going to judge you. You will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is, unfortunately for all of us, very false. It's very fake, very not real, very no good. It's neither desirable as a fantasy nor logical to believe in as reality. I've got big ideas with all the shit jobs workers union. Okay, tell me about it, because I think I already agree with you. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the industrial workers of the world, but the industrial workers of the world believes in the concept of one big union, which is the idea that you slowly unionize every workplace you can, and if you do it under the same framework initially, great, but if you don't, then the goal is to eventually coalesce all of those unions into a greater and greater unit of solidarity. Think something like the AFL-CIO and some of these other federations, but all combined together with collective organizing power that might cross the globe in terms of its ability to negotiate, its ability to coordinate labor power. And the industrial workers of the world has been for a long time advocating heavily for people in the service sector and in the quick service restaurant kind of sector and in the retail sector. It's actually interesting. The IWW was one of the organizations that was responsible for getting the Starbucks stores up in the Pacific Northwest that started to unionize. The IWW was one of the organizations that provided them the framework by which they could organize and start to take some of the power back in their labor. And yes, in a more narrow sense, I also totally agree that we being the collective working class of America, I think we need to support the creation, development, and maintenance of a workers' union that specifically focuses on entry-level and low-paying retail and fast food jobs, and like all the jobs that are like adjacent to that kind of thing. How do I contact to coordinate call-in sometime? Well, Joey, that's a good time to ask, because here in I'm going to postpone it by another 10 or 20 minutes, but here in 20 or 30 minutes, if you've got time tonight, I will actually be doing a call-in show, and I will start the call-ins probably around, right now it's 9:49 CST, so I will probably start the call-ins around probably 11 p.m. CST. There will be a Discord link that will be posted in the description, and that Discord will take you to my server, the channel server, basically. It's a fan-run effort, just so you know. I do have mod powers over there, but whatever. Point is, you go over there, and then there will be a specific voice channel, and you'll pop in there. I'll vet you, ask what your username in chat is, if you've got one, etc., etc. But yeah, the process is pretty easy to explain and understand once we get there. It's basically just, going on to Discord, and then we coordinate that. And then, but if you wanted to coordinate something for longer out in the future, if you didn't want to necessarily do something tonight, if you wanted to coordinate something out in the future, I would recommend hitting up my personal Discord, which I believe is in my descriptions. If you send me a friend request on there and let me know what your username on Discord is on here, I can, try and remember to confirm that friend request. Currently working and not sure I'll be able to, but yeah, I want to hit up. Okay, well, yeah, hit up my Discord is probably the best way. I've also got X. I don't check X as often as I should, but I do have it, and I think that's it. I tried Discord, but said you weren't accepting. Oh, weird. Okay. Yeah, okay. I had to change my settings recently. Okay. Well, in that case, you might just have to give me a day or two and let me change my settings around, and then I'll tell you to send me another request. Or you can hit up X or one of the other platforms I've got down there. Are you a witch? No, hey, I don't consider myself a witch necessarily, but I've got some witchy tendencies about me, for sure, for sure. Thoughts on tariffs? Do you think the rich hate them? I think the rich hate and love tariffs depending on their position in the market and where exactly they land on the effect scale. Rich people love what helps them and hate what doesn't, ultimately. I guess there are some exceptions to this rule. There are some rich people that are a little bit more forward-thinking and that sometimes resent things that would outwardly help them in the short term. But for the most part, they like what is evil. Do you smoke anything immediately after I blow a big puff of tobacco smoke? Hi from California. Hi from Mississippi. Are you trans at all? I noticed the flag and you don't have to answer, of course, if you're uncomfortable. Yes, I'm a trans woman. I'm perfectly okay with being open about it because I like to look at it as like an opportunity to be an advocate for other trans people, many of whom do not feel comfortable being advocates for themselves openly online, especially in the environment we've got right now. But I've got a skin thicker than a rhinoceros, so they talk shit at me and it just slides off my back like water off a duck. I'm Hannah. Hi, Hannah. I'm Phoebe. What are you attracted to? Big, muscly, veiny, butch lesbians. No, I don't know. I'm attracted to everybody. Not everybody, I guess. Shanny for Christ is pretty fucking ugly. But Rev can be cute sometimes, so that just goes to you, you know? My standards aren't that goddamn high. Polyamorous. I do enjoy eating multiple yams at one time. Yes. I am polyamorous. Get it? Get it? Was that a funny joke? I thought that was a funny joke. That's really interesting. I'm not trans myself, so I'm trying to understand, but I can't. What age did you know you were a woman? Also, your smile is really pretty. Aw, thank you. I don't know. I didn't have words for it when I was a kid, but I felt like I knew even when I was like a little ass kid. It just wasn't something I had the language to describe till I was 16 or 17, and I didn't have the bravery to come out until I was 21. Are you a girl or a boy? A girl. Sicko? Well, that's a really mean, bitter comment, but welcome to the chat. Gender roles are funny, eh? They are. It's like you were born with a penis, so you like working on cars, right? No. You were born with a vagina, so you automatically like baking, right? No. Oh, way down south in the land of traders, rattlesnakes and alligators, right away, right away, right away, Dixieland, where cotton is king and men are chattel, Union men will win those battles, run away, right away, right away, Dixieland, we'll down to Dixie, hooray, hooray, we'll go down to Dixie. Each southern boy must understand that he must mind his Uncle Sam away, away. We'll all go down to Dixie. Andy Milanakis, hey! I resemble that comment. Fuck you. Have you gone to therapy? Because I could use some tips right now. I've not. Well, I mean, I have gone to therapy, but it's been a couple of years. It's been like 5 years since I've been in therapy, and like even longer since I've been in like regular, like religiously going to therapy type of therapy. So I don't know. Like I might be able to give you some general like life advice tips, but I'm not a medical professional, and you not construe anything I say to be medical advice. I am unqualified to provide such, and would not want to be blamed for your medical mishap based on some stupid information you ran with from an internet streamer without verifying yourself. That being said, what do you want to know? I'm a crazy trans hippie who spent most of the last 5 years living in a minivan and has now like turned my life around into something even crazier than that. Maybe I've got some kind of life advice I can offer. I don't know. Had a pretty unconventional childhood, you know. How long do you think you would last in Iran? I would just like petition the government for like you realize trans people are like Like gay people, like sodomy is illegal in Iran. It's prosecuted with 5 years in prison, but like trans people are not prosecuted in Iran. They're allowed to get sex reassignment surgery and change their gender identifiers on passports and government documents, etc., etc. It's not to say that Iran is some kind of like beautiful progressive place, but certainly the theocracy there is not as rough around the edges as some theocracies throughout history have been. Yeah, you could be trans, just no butt stuff. Yeah, it's a weird country. It's a very strange country. But no matter how many protesters they kill, okay, not no matter how many, but let me put it this way. Iran has not killed nearly enough protesters for me to consider it enough of a human rights abuse for us to begin human rights abusing them back. You know? Like the whole reason why World War II was justified was because despite the fact that we were carpet bombing Dresden, the Nazis existed, and they were literally genociding people at a clip more massive than we've ever seen. Um, Iran is not that. Iran is a damn far sight from that. By the most liberal estimates, Iran has killed 30,000 protesters. By the government's own accounting, it's killed like 5,000. The real number is probably somewhere in between, right? The real number is probably something like 12,000 to 15,000 protesters. It's hard to know for sure because human rights organizations are, for the most part, not allowed into and have been especially not allowed ever since these escalating tensions. So it's hard to have a 100% certain accounting, but they're definitely human rights abusers. The question becomes how well, like what is the best way for us to deal with that? And I'm of the opinion that the last 100 years of history gives us a number of models by which we can deal with these problems that don't involve bombs, missiles, tanks, American lead and blood. We could normalize relationship. We could normalize a relationship with Iran, start trading with them, start rebuilding their infrastructure, um, paying them reparation basically for all the civilian destruction we've caused, for all the historical sites we've just removed off the face of the planet alongside Israel, and start helping them survive this water crisis that they're going through. And after 2 or 3 years of that, we would have enough diplomatic leverage over them to begin phasing in human rights requirements of their government. Okay, you can't make women wear the burqa or the hijab or whatever. You can't make women cover their faces anymore. Okay, now it's 2 or 3 years later. Okay, you can't lock up people for sodomy anymore. It's barbaric, frankly. Okay, all right. A few years later, okay, you guys gotta stop beheading people or sentencing them to death or life in prison for apostasy. No more. Not allowed. Sorry, can't do it. I'm not saying this is the order in which these things should be pursued. I'm saying this is an example of how we could liberalize the Iranian government by normalizing trade with them. We were on the course to do this at the end of Obama's term and at the beginning of Trump's first term. Trump is the one who decided to tear up the Iran deal, which was like Iran was abiding by it. Iran was allowing international inspectors to come into their nuclear sites and make sure they're not getting ready to build bombs. We are the ones who decided, foolishly, because we elected a foolish president, to get out of that deal. Hey Rufus, do you have anything to add to this chat besides free-floating hatred and hostility and vitriol? In Iran, women don't have to wear burqas like in Qatar. Well, I know I'm like they do have to cover their faces though, don't they? I remember reading into this recently, and like I don't know. It seems to me like Iran is pretty fucking like rampant with human rights abuses, but that doesn't entitle us to fucking carpet bomb them. It like that's not how you achieve the liberalization of a fucked up government. It just isn't. Like a big driver of authoritarianism in the Middle East has been the perception that the West is an unreliable negotiator, and that the West is like a snake that wants to encroach on their governments and fuck with them and like undermine them from within. If we just started treating them like we treat pretty much any country in Europe, if we started trading with them and trying to help them rebuild and stuff like that. If we treated the countries of the Middle East like we treated the countries of Europe after World War II, we would, over the course of 50 years, create a peaceful Middle East. Think about why we don't want to do that. Because we're not satisfied with what we would have to do to achieve those outcomes. We would have to give them a fair shake. We would have to give them a fair shake. And we don't want to do that. We want complete ownership and possession over those lands and over those resources, over those oil fields and gas fields. The Saudis need a parking lot for their amusement parks and volunteered Iran for space. Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like to me. I mean, no, I don't know. That Iran is not a very suitable parking lot. Most of it's mountainous. Too much earth moving to make it into a parking lot. Unless we're just going to use the nukes, in which case, maybe. But no, I think they want the oil resources that are below Iran. I think they want the natural gas resources that are below Iran. I think that they want the tactical advantage that having Iran means. I think America wants to own the planet. I'm not kidding. America wants to rule the world. Unironically. We are the supervillain in the movie that wants to literally possess the planet. We're that. Everything we do is positioning us for greater hegemony. Everything we do, everything we have done in the last 20 years has been pushing us deeper and deeper into that transition from republic to empire. America will not be happy until every square inch of this planet is eating McDonald's and getting fat and driving down roads that they hate. America will not be happy until every fucking drop of oil has been extracted out from under the ground, until every tree has been burned, until every blade of grass has been eaten by a cow. We want to put the world under the most colossal yoke ever conceived of by men. How do you affect change when your platform only appeals to people who agree with you? It's funny you say that because my platform mainly appeals to people who don't agree with me. How'd that $1 trillion F-35 hold up against basic SAM? I mean, it is like kind of hilarious that the F-35 Lightning II is not capable of like surviving that kind of engagement. Now, granted, honestly, from my understanding about how the F-35 fucking works, that might just be an example of some operator of the F-35 not following like the proper protocol. Like, my understanding is that the F-35 is not really supposed to be used as like close-in air support or a dogfighting ship or anything like that. It's supposed to like it's supposed to be like a weird cross between a bomber and a fighter jet and like a recon slash intelligence plane. It's got like electronic warfare shit on it. It's got um, missiles that are designed and targeting systems that are designed to lock onto and establish targets before the target in question ever has a chance to even notice the F-35. So my understanding is that if it's going to be shot down by a SAM, that it might be an example of somebody not using the technology the way it's supposed to be used. But I could be wrong. I've never been in the military, and as far as I know, you know, this is like how it's supposed to be. But it's ultimately based off of the same type of shit that's available to everybody else, which is just like people from inside the military talking on YouTube about like what it's supposed to do and how it's supposed to be. A SAM can reach a jet in 2 seconds. Sometimes there's no time to react. But I was under the impression that the F-35 was like primarily meant to be flown like outside of the range of most like SAM systems. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Sounds like state propaganda. Of course, they're going to say we the best. The problem with America is that, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I think that for a long time we said that and it was true. For example, the M4 Sherman was not the most like technologically advanced tank fielded in World War II. Far from it. In fact, one of the reasons why the M4 was so successful was because it was so simple to produce, so easy to repair and work on, and there were just so many more of them than there were the technologically superior and more complex and arguably more advanced Tiger tanks, or like the T-34 were like they were even more simple than the M4 was, but like the magic of them lied in the same thing that lied in the American M4, right? And when we said that the M4 was the best tank for the job, when we did our state propaganda talking about what a capable vehicle it was kind of true back then, because not only was it light enough that we could transport it on these ships and easily offload it onto landing vessels and stuff like that, not only was it like easy to get them around to different places, but it was technologically capable. It was pretty well armored for being as portable as it was. Um, had a tall silhouette, but still a pretty skinny silhouette, especially if you compare it to something like like I said, the Tiger tanks. And it was, like I said, so simple and easy to work on and technologically simple that there were just like way more of them. And that combination of factors led it to be like the tank that probably did ultimately like the most damage in that conflict, which I just think is like fascinating. And it's an example of how American engineering used to kind of be on par with our propaganda. Nowadays, though, it doesn't seem like that's true. We constantly hear these days about how the American military maintains a presence all over the world, and we can hunt down any target in the blink of an eye. But if you look at it, we're having to move interceptor resources from all over the planet to the Middle East just to support our efforts there. We've already got 50,000 troops in the region. We're constantly sending more. The Pentagon's demanding $200 billion more to resupply dwindling ammunition stocks and all this other shit. So it's beginning to look a lot like we are not nearly as well equipped as we talk shit about. Like, we never stopped the war propaganda after World War II, but our technology stopped keeping up with it sometime in the 80s, I would guess, sometime in the 80s or 90s. Because I feel like that was around the time when, like, if you look back in, like, if you look back through newsreels and shit and coverage of that era, you will see, like, people in the military talking about how crazy advanced the technology is going to be in 10, 20, 30 years. Most of those ideas have not yet come to fruition. There's a few of them that have. But for the most part, it seems like we've got a propaganda machine that's very good at spitting out really compelling, idealism about what the future of American military might look like, and a military-industrial complex that is no longer up to the task of arming the nation. DARPA did give us the internet. Well, that's what I'm saying, right? DARPA gave us the internet back in the 1970s and 80s. And it was in the late 80s and throughout the 90s that you really started getting these way more futuristic visions of military technology that started to look farther and farther out at the future and started to become less and less, like there started to become less of a correlation between what we were saying we were going to build and what we were saying we had and what we actually had and what we were actually building. That's all I'm saying. I'm so glad I'm not American. I have to say, as a resident of the evil empire, it does suck to be a resident of the evil empire. At a time when we're being particularly evil empire-y, it does kind of suck to be a resident of the evil empire. Oh, I love America, but I've got some problems with what we do on the global stage, and I've got some problems with how we spend our money domestically. Then move. That's not how it works. We live in a democracy. If you have a problem with America, you state it out loud. You try and convince other people. You talk about why it's important. You try to improve the country you live in. You don't leave it tucked tail. When that doesn't work, it does work. You keep on fighting. There are people that have lived and died their whole lives fighting for a cause and never saw it fully established. Fuck that. I fucking love this country, but watching it go to total shit hurts beyond words, and the shit needs to stop. That's exactly my point. This endless, pointless glazing of America for glazing's sake, it's nothing but jingoistic nonsense that's meant to distract you from the real problems and incentivize you away from pursuing real solutions. It's meant to make you feel guilty for saying there's something wrong. It's meant to annul the pain the system inflicts upon all of us. A system helped to build and that we could change through collective effort. That we are in fact advised to change by our founding fathers through collective effort. Boy, these lights are bright. Maybe you should watch the doc that just came out. Louis Theroux goes inside the manosphere. It is 100% cringe. Oh, I bet. Manosphere cringe has always been shit, though. Like, it's always been cringe. Manosphere shit has always been cringe. It's just a feature of its existence. Because really, it's like the only dudes that feel the need to constantly, like, refresh and reassure their masculinity with that kind of content are people that are like deeply insecure in it. So it's just going to produce cringe content by virtue of the intended audience. Is an empire doesn't expand, it will fail. What the fuck you think? Yeah, empires always fail, regardless of them expanding or not. In fact, expansion tends to be one of the things that leads to the empire's collapse, as its resources are spread further and governance becomes harder. And colonial losses abroad send a message to the people closer to home. Hey, the empire is not as strong as it once was. Maybe we can revolt. And one by one, slowly but surely, the empire loses all of its lands and collapses back into one central entity. And if it's lucky, like the Holy Roman Empire, it finds some glitch in the matrix that allows it to continue onwards despite not deserving to. I will be right back. And then we're going to do like 10 more minutes, and then we're going to do the call-in show. So be ready for that. We are going to cover a couple of news stories before we do that, but yeah. Alrighty. Well, I feel better. I don't know about you guys, but I feel better. Why does everyone have to be so dogmatic? I fucking agree. I'm really not that dogmatic. I've got two things about which I am very dogmatic. I think that it is important to reduce human suffering, and I think it's important to protect the environment in which we all live. I think that those two things can be, those two axioms can be fundamentally justified because they both speak to the common theme of collective self-interest. Or collective interest, I guess you would say. If it's collective, it's not self-interest. Those would be axioms, not dogmas. Well, yeah, but I feel like, dogmatism is, I don't know, maybe I'm noticing a distinction here that doesn't exist. I just feel like some people mean, like, when they say dogmatic, they mean that some people, like, believe really hard in things, and maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that in every case, but in my case, I believe in the things that I believe in really hard because I think that they can be axiomatically justified, and that's the point I was trying to make. Peebs, should I get curry or tom yum tomorrow? Curry. 100% curry. Get you some naan bread, too. Dogma is like propaganda. Like Christian belief is a dogma. Well, yeah, no, but dogma and propaganda are different, too. propaganda is a morally neutral term. That's why it's important to specify what kind of propaganda you're calling out. If you are, for example, calling out right-wing propaganda, that's why the modifier there helps, because sorry, the modifier there helps because you are clarifying that it's not necessarily that all propaganda is bad. It's that there, and honestly, it goes a lot deeper than that, but suffice it to say that when you say something is propaganda, I think it's good to point out why it's propaganda, and I feel like it's also kind of a spicy topic because in a lot of ways, in the modern day, propaganda as a term is only used with negative context and connotation, which makes it kind of hard to explain to people how, no, like, we here on the left do propaganda too. It's just like not advocating for a world in which people are ground up into little, like, red mounds of pulp for the benefit of capital. So it's not bad. Propaganda is bad when it's advocating for something bad, and good when it's advocating for something good. What's an example of good propaganda? Like an IWW leaflet. Like an Industrial Workers of the World like leaflet that tells you a little bit about the union and a little bit about worker solidarity and labor organizing. A leaflet telling about a local mutual aid hub, like the kind that Kat Abizzala was running as part of her campaign. Hope more Democrats notice that tactic. But yeah, that might be an example of good propaganda. Propaganda itself is morally neutral. Obviously, the propaganda that existed in the Third Reich was not morally neutral. It was morally reprehensible. This kid does not own a pair of fucking boots aside from his mother's that he dresses up in. What are you going on about, Santino? Who the fuck cares if I've got a pair of boots or not? Weirdo. Who the fuck cares? For the record, though. You get kicked off a fucking job site in a minute. That's funny because the job that I worked at that bought me these boots was like a factory job where we had to deal with pretty heavy, like, machinery and parts and stuff like that. So it's funny you would say that because that was not the consequence of me wearing them on the shop when I got them. Couldn't make it in a factory? No, I didn't need to make it in a factory because I started making money here on YouTube. Take a minute to chill, pal. Yeah, take a minute. Yo, the mods call me base. Let's go. The mods have good taste, I guess. I'm far right, but I support trans rights. I get the impression you're not that far right, but I don't know. Ron recognizes trans people, so I guess there are exceptions everywhere, right? Well, you know, man, chat is going all kinds of places. Chat is going all fucking sorts of places. I don't know if I can follow you all the places you guys are going. Do you think that young folks who vape constantly are going to pay a heavy toll later in life? Yeah, just like young people who smoke constantly are going to pay a pretty heavy toll later in life. Yeah, smoking is a bad habit. Vaping is a bad habit. Yeah, you shouldn't do it. But I'm not going to morally judge people because, I understand. Of course I understand. I've got a nicotine addiction of my own. It sucks. It's something you should definitely quit. It's definitely something I want to quit before I turn 30. And I kind of feel like I'm giving myself too much leeway there, honestly. I would like to preserve my singing voice as long as I can. I think right now I honestly sound pretty okay. But I know if I keep smoking that eventually all that will fade away like so many packs of cigarettes in the breeze. That popcorn lung case scared me off of it, luckily. My understanding is that that was mostly due to, like, really shady rip-off fucking... There's, like, a whole industry in the countries that have facilities capable of producing these disposables of making these, like, badly regulated and often full of weird contaminants type of vapes. And that's why I'm kind of in favor of some of these laws that are being passed in southern states right now, like um, banning everything that isn't FDA approved. Because I kind of think that when it comes to something that people are going to be getting addicted on, yeah, there should be some regulatory agency there making sure that you're not ingesting things that you shouldn't be. Obviously, it would be better if nobody smoked nicotine in general, but we do. And I don't think that people's freedom should be limited to do that. But I do think that someone's freedom to poison you or to fill that with contaminants or to allow it to be contaminated, I think that freedom should be restricted. Certainly, that someone should not be able to poison someone else in a way that isn't stated clearly on the package. Okay, let's see. What time is it? 10:32. Okay. Here in about 3 minutes, I'm going to go inside and we are going to do the next part of the show. So be prepared for that. It's going to be broadcasted on the channel. Thoughts on RFK attack on Dunk/Starbucks? I've avoided those places for years. Hard in New England though. Oh, I didn't even catch it. RFK says so much shit, I don't even catch most of it. What did he say? Someone will have to update me on what he said. honestly. Yeah, that makes sense. Regulate to at least make sure they're not getting adulterated products. Exactly. Like, the ingredients list on the back should give you a pretty fucking good idea of what's in the vape that you're consuming. And if it doesn't, that's a problem. Look it, I'm making a coffee at 11:33. I find that a coffee late at night when you're trying to like get stuff done or having an enjoyable session of some kind, good times. It's an advisable thing to do. Vape's bad. Vape's bad. Vape's bad. Vape's bad. Average coffees are becoming like 3 times the amount of a can of Coke, and soda is horrible. In my opinion, just needs an education update, not a ban. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think the answer for a lot of these things is just educating people. But also, the problem with a lot of these things is the problem with a lot of these things, in my opinion, is that I feel like we're approaching it from the wrong direction. In my opinion, the reason why people are seeking out more caffeine, like, yeah, there is like a push from these companies to put more caffeine in their drinks because it's addictive and all this other shit, but it's not like it's some nefarious thing with no further intentions. I think that the American business class has for a long time known that caffeine is the fuel of the working class and a good chunk of the middle class, part of the high class too. And as we descend further and further into late stage capitalism, more and more is demanded of people. People have to work more and more hours at their jobs. I think people are becoming more reliant on caffeine. I think if you really wanted to tackle that problem, well, you're going to have to start tackling the amount of work people have to do. Because I feel like no amount of education is going to change the fact that there are some people who have so much on their fucking plate that they cannot be made to make the better life choices that would enable them to crawl their way out of the pit that they're in. You mentioned caffeine as I put in dippable pre-workout called out. I mean, hey, I'm obviously a drug user. I don't morally condemn anyone for using drugs. But I do agree with you that it's kind of a problem that I don't even know if that you were saying you agree with that, but I think it's personally a problem that our society is becoming more reliant on caffeine. But I don't think it's a problem because, like, I don't think it would be a problem if it was because like becoming more comfortable with drugs. I just don't think that's the reason why we're doing it. If we were doing it because we were trying to figure out new and unique ways to augment our body to be able to do more things, and the things that we were doing were things that made us feel better about ourselves and more empowered and brought our communities to um, greater cohesion or whatever, right? If it was towards a positive end universally, like, or at least for the broader population, I would look at it as like a positive thing, probably, with maybe some negative repercussions that need to be looked out for and worked around. But, something that we could afford to be a little less cautious about. But as it is, I think it represents a trend in our society towards working more and sleeping less. And that's not good. Human beings need between 8 and 9 hours of sleep to function properly. And a lot of people are lucky if they get 6. There are people in this country who operate regularly on like 4 hours of sleep. Based, thank you for the membership. And thank you for the person who sent $2 on Cash App as well. I saw Brisky. I'm not going to say it. Oh, Lord have mercy. Damn, quick with the timeout. 20 minutes to think about your behavior. I think 1.8 thousand seconds is 20 minutes. I wish they didn't express it in seconds. That makes no sense. Literally no sense. Express it in minutes, YouTube. Express it in minutes. I need to remember that. Send a fucking recommendation to YouTube. Start expressing ban times in chat for moderators and content creators to those who are mods in terms of minutes, not seconds. Because you're presented the option to time out in terms of minutes, not seconds. And we don't think about time in terms of seconds. I mean, we kind of do, but we mostly don't. What's your channel about? Interesting conversations about current events and aiming the working class of America, mainly because I'm an American, towards systems and ideas that will help us survive the pretty inevitable economic collapse of America as our systems begin to fail when the dollar inevitably becomes not the world currency anymore. That's a little deeper, but a more general way of putting it would be that I don't remember what the word is for systems like this. I think it's called dual powers, basically. The idea that you've got this government that is becoming increasingly less equipped to provide for the people within it. You've got community structures of the past that are no longer that effective at coordinating people and making communities better and keeping them together. And we need to establish a separate set of new systems independent of the capital class, independent of the, to the greatest extent possible, independent of the overarching system of capitalism, and build something that provides for people within those systems. I was harassed on the metro because someone realized I was wearing female clothing and I guess they wanted to mess with me. Yeah, I feel like these kind of attacks are going to become more common as tensions escalate and as people get angrier and angrier with one another. I'm going to go shower. I'll be back in 1,800 seconds. Hey, thanks. I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes calculating what that would be in minutes so that I know what you actually mean. Hi, Scarlett. I felt so uncomfortable I ended up leaving and walking the rest of my way home. I don't blame you. I would too. It's an uncomfortable thing. You said we would get Discord. I want to ramble with you about all this, all the shit jobs mega union idea. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this stream then. Go ahead and look on this channel for there should be already created. It'll just say waiting for Phoebe Ophi. So go over to those. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this one out. Be back in a minute. Wait for me there.